A new miniseries, but the Kentucky Roller Derby has yet to wrap up. IDW is certainly pushing things forward, no doubt to capitalize on the recent special. Let's take a look under the waves and see what's what. So, remember that 40th anniversary special that featured Hitch, Sonny, and Izzy looking at entries for the G1 ponies? Well, Izzy Moonbow remembers. Comic continuity. She is enthralled by a set of books devoted to the Galloping Ghost and its stories about sea ponies. However, a fourth volume recently washed ashore, and Izzy notes the change in writing styles and the reversed roles between heroes and antagonists. She asserts that author Creepy Jenny couldn't have written this fourth novel, as it makes no sense and overuses the term cerulean. Pipp is far less involved in stories, as her mother has been leaning on her to perform more princess duties, even as Pipp prepares to release a new song. A note written on Flotsam changes her plans, as it's an invitation from one Queen Calla Lily, who has learned of the board trot and extended a welcoming to the sparkling sea, one of the 7 kingdoms of the ocean. Zip is too engrossed in a mystery book cover to go, so it's up to Pipp and a very enthusiastic Izzy. They managed to test out Misty's newest spell via the board trot roller coaster, which apparently submerges its rides in water and likely courts several lawsuits. The two are then picked up by an underwater train with 2 suspicious porters and one oddball named Two-Eyed Gilbert. Although Izzy perks up when he mentions knowing Creepy Jenny, the sea pony protagonist of the first 3 novels. But before they can explore further, the porters intervene and distract them, right up until they're about to see the Undersea Kingdom, at which point the porters abduct both ponies into potato sacks. Amy Meberson once again demonstrates her skill in drawing our G5 ponies. I love her ability to create expressions that feel like they could work well within the show, even when it's just a small fish's terror. She doesn't seem to have suffered any setbacks in converting to the tell your tale character style. If anything, I think it gave her permission to dial every pony's reactions up higher. She also gets to demonstrate an alternate style with Izzy's reflection being like an old-time black and white cartoon. Granted, it's not that different from what we have already had, but I noticed the difference in the eyes and how the legs move. Just different enough to be distinct, plus the desaturated look helps. What's stranger is the coloring of the lines. I'm not sure if this is the work of colorist Reggie Graham, who made some of the wild choices in Camp Big Hoof, or if Meberson set up the line art to work this way. Either way, I usually dislike colored line art. It creates a softer look so that the characters don't stand out as well against the setting. It's different in the G4 cartoons because the motion, and sometimes bolder colors, help them stand out. In a fixed medium like comics, you need some elements to pop. Graham's color scheme seemed to account for this by setting the ponies against desaturated colors, like a brick wall, or a high contrast like pink and white setting against the ponies' blue tones, or just have a background gradient. This technique is especially apparent in the later underwater scenes, where darker and desaturated tones help the ponies stand out. It also conveys the sinister intentions behind Foamy Joe and, this guy. Yet the biggest draw of all this is the creation of the new. Take the Galloping Ghost ship, which features a prow and portholes designed to give it a face. Add in the bowsprit, and you can conjure an anglerfish. The various sea pony forms, both in Izzy's imagination and what we get in real life, are wonderfully diverse and interesting. They take elements from aquatic life, like coral formations and narwhals.
Narwhals swimming in the ocean, causing a commotion, cause they are so awesome.
One might write off the sea pony forms of our heroines, given that we already saw that in the G4 movie. Yet I appreciate how they integrate the various color changes, especially with Pipp and her wings, giving added variety to the design. The only part that confuses me is the absence of a tail fin that denotes their cutie marks. Instead, said marks remain on their sides, but look strangely isolated without having a body part to denote the section. I don't know if this was an intentional choice to leave out this element, or if the creative staff didn't have as many references as they'd like. Which leads us into one of this story's bigger issues. Despite my earlier celebration of comic continuity, we are sadly denied a far more important connection. Throughout the first part of this story, Izzy continually states her desire to meet sea ponies, and Sunny admits it would be great if they existed. I find it very difficult to envision how the comic staff can know about the board trot and capitalize on the specials airing, but not know anything about this important, if brief, encounter with Destiny.
I had a date with Destiny.
Destiny? That's a stripper's name.
It's both disappointing but not surprising that there are people who hold that opinion. They're usually terrible people. Regardless, I can only assume that some creative director gave the comic team instructions on including the board trot, but made no mention of an actual sea pony already being on screen, with a rather violent farewell. Which once again highlights how often the comics seem to lag behind the larger franchise. There seems to be a lack of information that sabotages either the storytelling or the art. It's disappointing to see that continue, just as it's disappointing that Sunny doesn't appear to be much involved in moving forward. Once again, her focus is far too centered in Maritime Bay, when I continually wish that she could be the one calling for adventure. Her opponent either way would have been Pipp, who is often in the unenviable role of being the one to reject the call to adventure. It was thus in the A New Generation movie.
I'm a criminal, and it's all because of them.
It was the same in the Return of Discord comic. And while she's been more adventurous in Make Your Mark, she often needs to be tempted forward by the promise of new social media. Here, it's understandable that she's frustrated by having to delay a song she worked on for an unexpected event. Yet I think this could be way more beneficial, as she'd be delivering some quality, exclusive content. Zip not going along is more confusing. Just as I wish that Sunny could be more of the scout, I'm interested in seeing Zip take on those royal roles she so often sidesteps. This detective aspect isn't half as fascinating to me as the potential for growth. My biggest criticism of G5 is that, after Magic returned, there didn't appear to be a solid pathline for each character's growth. The big exception being Misty, who seems to be on track to becoming a very powerful unicorn, as she's mastered a spell that puts her on par with Queen Novo's Pearl. It even creates air bubbles for personal items. Not bad at all. Izzy is the most delightful part of the story, as her energy is infectious and her insight into the Galloping Ghost books provides some nice foreshadowing. I think she's going to carry this series far more than any other character. It's thanks to her that I know more about the players involved. Except this guy. Once again, I wait for the comics to give a name to the face. As for our undersea cliffhanger, well, congratulations, Pipp! You have joined in the proud lineage of pony princesses who have been abducted, imprisoned, confined, held captive, seized, depowered, banished, kidnapped, restricted, or otherwise pwned. Because there's something about those darn crowns that screams, I'm a target, come get me. Izzy? I'm sorry you were along for this part of the ride, but I am intrigued to know the various mysteries at play and how these two will both evade their captors and connect the sea and the land in friendship, if friendship be an option. So we'll just have to wait for the next issue. In the meantime, I'm curious to see what has happened in the Kentucky Roller Derby story. So let's talk about that next time. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.